Alright guys, let's see if this is a decent match for our Legend series. Uh, so they are all around 1k ELO, so a bit higher than what we are used to seeing. Yeah, a bit higher than what we're used to seeing, but nonetheless can be some interesting builds, and we can always learn uh, something from those matches also. So we will always emphasize onto what we see and what can be improved, and we'll discuss more of the decisions as well. Right? So we do have our initial builds here. We do have the Antler from Chops. We do have the Butcher Start from Blood Sugar. For Brian Owen, we do have the Green Devil, and for the Jace we do have a Arctear Start. Everybody went for uh, some king ups, I believe. Yes, and interesting. There was two redraw or lock-in. Not sure which one of the two. Um, and I see here real fast on the rolls a huge handicap. Not having any tier ones. We do have a reroll already here from Chops. Early reroll is not always what you want, but still. So let's see, 4 workers on everybody, and I mean, Bloodsucker starting with the Butcher instead of starting with the Nightmare here. So for people who don't know, with Nightmare, especially with the roll from Bloodsucker, if he decides to go Nightmare first, he doesn't have to build on with 2. And if he's sending like that, he can build two gargoyles easily, 2 gargoyles on wave 3 to be able to hold any 40 cent. 60 cent, a bit tricky. Then you need 3 gargoyles and like you stay 4 workers, but with this positioning, with these units, sorry, you can push easily to 6 workers and wait for your butcher on wave 5. So that is something you can do. But going for the butcher, you kind of need to go for a big shift to get your nightmare at one point instead of already having your big unit. So let's see, we did have the gargoyle here from Brian. Deciding to stay 3 workers despite going for the Green Devil start and having a send on 1. What he could have done is push to 5 workers and go for 2 looters and the split, and allows you to hold. Chop saving now, not resending a 20 here. We do have Snells almost on every lane. This would be an easy hold for Jace. I do hope he goes 5 worker now because of his value at first. But realizing that, okay, yeah, he does have the Oathbreaker for wave 5, so he can allow himself to push at least to 5 workers after receiving so much sense already. You receive a total of 60, so normally after a 60 cent, a good build can go to 6 workers, but being 5 worker is still pretty decent for him. Oh, and what do we see here? A leak to a Snell from the Antler player. Going 5 worker and not having a tier 1 does mean he cannot add the split here. And also Ranger far in the back means that it walks up very slowly while this is already taking punishment. And so you have a delay, and this delay results into 3 creeps leak. Also ill small comment. The harpies are better built far in the back and your front line far in front for the following reason. When you do that, you have better attack speed and so better DPS for your harpy compared to the rangers here in the back. The DPS is much better if the harpy does not attack right from the start. And so if you have the rangers, if you put them in front, then you have extra time for your DPS before your tank is getting attacked. So we do have a 60 cent here on wave 4. Onto the Gargoyle player, he is overvalued, but did not have good units here. It will be a leak, but not a massive one. Oh, but still, three chickens with a brute, still more than you want while be 20 under, 20 over. So what an improvement he could have done is place this pack rat on the other side here with a better distribution of their tank, and you have a better use, and this can do better damage over time as well. But easy hold for Jayski. Large shift here, easy. He stayed 4 workers here, and Brian not pushing either here, staying at 4 workers. So we've seen a lot of sense this game, and very little push from both teams, but a bit more from Chops and Blood. 274 gold, 1 gold short of the Fire Lord, so now he needs to improvise. He's going for the Oathbreaker with Rangers. It will be a save here, and a save also. He did push 1 worker to no sen. No, to the 40, sorry. He did receive 40 last wave, so he did push 1 worker in the end. And Brian also pushing 1 more worker. But now much better on this wave. But will still result into a lake because he's now targeting the brute. Oh, that is a lot of scorpions. I didn't see that was that much work. So a lot of magic damage, but no fortified tanks or nature defense to protect him, protect his damage. And so this results into a leak. And did he shift gold? It does seem like he shifted gold here. But so main reasons why we see a leak here is no fortified tanks or nature defense, and no major split here. So this means that all the wave attack 1 unit after the other. But let's see. We do have Blue going for the Hermit here. Hermit is not a stand I'm really a fan of. Just because you see a lot of single target damage here. Yes, the Arctair Aura does some damage, but you negate 3 damage per second. Like, it's not the end of the world. And we do have a shift again on Jayski. What is this? It is the return of the Goldshifters, because yellow is also shifting gold. But why? Okay, so Brian probably shifting gold for the bunk on wave 7. And Jayski going for the going for the Fire Lord. He doesn't have enough for the Fire Lord, so that's out of the question. And we do have a leak yet again on Brian and Jayski. And we do have Chop still pushing here on 9 workers now. He is the one that is pushing the most when receiving sense. We do have Blood trying to follow as well, but it is very hard with his build right now because he does not have the time for his harpies to scale up in DPS. And also going for a lot of butchers, not the most effective tanks. He is saved by his insane value, and so that's why we see him holding despite not having a very effective build. The others are trying to stay close to value, but keep shifting gold for now 3 waves in a row. So that's what they decide to do. So he now has enough for the Fire Lord. Does he decide to go for it? So let's just keep a close eye onto his gold if he decides to push or decide to build. We do see that we do not have enough gold for Brian to go for the bunk. And Jayski going for Washroom. Okay. Going for another Green Devil here. So now he has a good front line. And they are... Yes, they are shifting gold yet again. And we do have a Harpy card from Blood, so congrats to him. A lot of Rangers here, and not the best frontline here. And so it might result into a leak here, because Ranger does not have the best DPS. on their own against non-boss units, but he might still have enough to do some work. And we do have J-Ski leaking quite heavily while being close to value. If he had a split with his Wireshroom could have been better, and here the split with the Pack Rat initially could have been better as well. We do have a leak also from Chops, and J-Ski and Brian pushing one more worker. But the large amount of gold that they are sitting on just hurting them so much. And now it will be interesting. Do we see the Fire Lord? Do we see the Bunk? Because they are not pressing any workers. The enemy is still overvalued. And they keep income sending while not having the worker lead. So let's see. We have 300 gold on J-Ski. So do we see the Fire Lord? The Fire Lord should be in the split if he decides to go for it. And he does have Brian does have enough for a bunk, and we would love to see it on the split here. And they decide to wait. Okay, so Brian decided to not go for the bunk, going for a warg and an infiltrator. And an APS here from J-Ski, and we have a 200 gold shift from J-Ski and a 130 gold shift. So that might be a quick one. And we have Chops and Blood spending a lot of their gold. All of their gold, sorry. And we do see, like, yes, you are close to value, but you need to look at what is your value, right? So, and what do you spend your value? But it looks like it would be a hold or close to for J-Ski, but a leak from Brian again. That is very close to a hold from J-Ski, only taking one, despite the 200 gold shift for I don't know what unit. But Brian leaking quite a lot here to the Hermit will mean a lot of king damage. And the others are holding the sense and are pushing some workers after receiving that. We do have 10 workers on Chops, 9 workers on Blood, and 7 workers on J-Ski, and Brian still not pushing workers despite receiving sense. So why are they shifting gold? So let's see. Now we could possibly finally see our Fire Lord or our Bunk. Do we see it? No, we go for Oathbreaker on J-Ski, another Oathbreaker, and Brian going for Pack Rat. And we do have a 130 gold shift from Brian and a 200 gold shift from J-Ski. But now J-Ski is overvalued, so that might be good for him. He does have a decent frontline, but poor damage. We have a Sand here on Chops. He does have a lot of pierce damage, but a huge frontline here, being 135 over, 200 over for Blood, with a Fire Lord, with Life Steal, not tanking anything though. And he really needs to put something up there so that the Harpy can have more attack speed and so more damage per second. We will see a leak from Brian. But a hold this time for J-Ski. He is now very good on wave 10, but Chop's going for 12 workers now, so taking the worker lead by a large margin. And Brian and J-Ski still sitting on very low workers, 8 each. Will they income send yet again or not? No sends from Brian and J-Ski, so let's see. Do we finally see our bunk from Brian? Do we see the bunk for Brian? Okay, we do have the Archer from J-Ski. He is shifting a bit less gold now. He is overvalued. We have the Alpha Male and under Pack Rat for Brian, and he's shifting 100 gold only. And they are sending after income. don't know how I keep my sanity now. But this is a lot of rangers here from chops, and we do have 2 fire lords with a lot of pierce damage, so a lot of tanks. So this will result into a hold 200 over for blood and 100 over for chops. And this will be a leak for Brian, but a hold for Jayski. Would he be able to hold the middle? Possibly some of it. And as they are staying at 8 workers, while the other team are pushing to 14 and 10 workers each. Alright, so 11 on blood now. We do have more king damage coming out. And now let's see, how many gold will they shift this round? Any guesses are possible. I think it will be a 200 gold shift from Jayski, and 130 gold from Brian. I think those are their favorite numbers. We'll see. We do have Magician Edge Chef onto those Fire Lord. Okay, so it's time to understand what the Fire Lord ability is. When it takes partial damage, when it gets attacked. Sorry, let's start from that. When it gets attacked, some of his mana is exchanged to damage reduction. So in his basic form, it's 60% damage reduction, and so this reduces the mana, and so at one point you don't reduce the damage anymore, right? But in exchange, when you have less mana, you do more damage. So that's one thing. And so if you decide to have Magician on them, that means that you want to use them as tanks. And so if they are not tanking anything, then the Magician doesn't do very much, right? So we do have press the attack on both teams except from Blood, just since we saw the Magician. But this results into a hold from Jayski, but a leak from Brian. And I did not see, but we do see that Jayski did decide to shift here. After placing the Fire Lord, yes, we did have the Fire Lord. But this is a lot to the king, and I do not think it will be enough to clear. And I think it will be game at this point. The Witch a lot of damage early, and yes, the Goldshifters are not victorious here. And those using all their gold are taking the win here. So I'm baffled by why so many people decide to go for the shifting gold strategy instead of pressing any advantage. But yeah, I mean, it's a decision, of course, because this means that yes, blue and red were overvalued, but they still had the worker lead because Brian and Jayski didn't want to push workers. So they seem to come in pairs, and they are not duo. So they always seem to be on the same team as well. Those who like to shift gold. So that is quite interesting as well. But I can assure you that one day the Goldshifters will win, and I'll be there to congratulate them. Yeah, for this achievement. But here you understand what's the main role of pushing workers, right? So yes, you're struggling to hold, but that's partly due to the fact you're not really preparing yourself too well for the waves, right? We don't see much split. The best split that we saw was from Chops here with a buckler. Yeah, a buckler in the split. And so taking some of the pressure off the other nature tanks, and meaning that the flower will tank some before the antler dies. And so just better for the hold. Yes, it's not a full hold, but that's partly due that he did not have the best frontline or best damage for this wave. But here we have blood being very far over value. And so sending a lot is fine if you have the worker lead. And so that is what Chops did. He did send quite a lot, but he was keeping the pressure on Brian and kept him leaking quite a lot. And so yes, that's what happened. The Hermit's not the best here, as we discussed, because there's only single target damage. This is only working because of poor tank value versus DPS. The only DPS that's of value here is of the pack rat. So optimizing the sends are still a thing. And I do not know why the Hermit is always the one returning. We need to investigate on why the Hermit is such a pro-efficient choice for many of the low helo. But yeah, on that, I do hope you like that. It will go to YouTube. And so on that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching. And don't forget, the most important part is to spend your goal.